So,
So
so,
so now it's
oh, yeah.
recording. So now we can get kicked off with the second question is when did you become a full-time creator and how?
So like I said, this is really what happened. This is really so. I remember it was probably about 6 months before I became like a full-time creator. I was
Mhm.
working at Meta, and I also had another job at Gloo as a project manager for a marketing company. So I was
Mm,
kind of like job stacking. And I was doing that. I was making good money, but I don't know, like like you just keep wanting like more. Like something didn't fulfill me. Um, and when I went to New York, my whole mind shifted, and I was like, bro, if I'm going to be doing whatever I'm going to do, I'm still, I need to just go for it and do whatever I'm going to do. And so the thing with Meta, I stopped working with Meta, and then Glue was like a contract position, so that contract ended, and my friend just kept telling me, he was like, this is going to be like your last corporate job, whatever. And I'm like, bro, whatever, like I'm going to give me a job. And he invited me to this event. It was like a lender matchmaking event for like small business loans and
mm.
stuff like that. And when he invited me to the event, everybody kept asking me how much money I want. And I was like, I don't know, like I'm just here to be here. But by the end of that, someone ended up like getting me to like this program. And just starting that process, I just kind of just kept going. And then when I knew I was about to have the space and like I got approved to be the program, I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm just gonna go all in on this.
Right.
And it's what almost 2 years later. So I guess it's
That's a
cool.
that is amazing. And wow, a lender matchmaking event. Can you dig a little deeper about that? What does that look like? I know that there's different kinds of loan types, investment types.
Yeah,
I'm literally a product of that gem received
yeah,
investor, but that was on what's called a safe note, which means we get an investment, and when company sells, the investors get their portion.
yeah,
But for you, things are different, right? You have a
yeah.
studio, you have a brick and mortar. So, can you tell us a little bit more about how you went about getting funding?
Yeah, for sure. So the funding process for like small business loans and things of that nature is kind of similar to if, excuse me, you're purchasing like a house, right? So a lot of it was really just preparing all the documents. So they needed to see um, my income statements, how much money I was bringing in. They needed to see like my business plan. It was really more so like you're literally just applying for like a house note, except
Mhm.
it's the same thing for like business. So I had to prepare like the documents, like my business plan, my financial projections, give them how much money I was bringing in, like basically just filling out all the paperwork and documents. And then they worked with me to like kind of, get everything ready for them. And then from that, they were able to make a decision on how much money I was able to get from the business loan. And like, these are the terms. Do you want to accept it or whatever? I ended up accepting it. So I would say that's like the biggest thing is like just having your documents in order.
And it's okay if I ask, I get real deep on these questions.
Go
Is it
ahead.
okay if I ask how much funding did you take? And between the funding that you got and maybe even your personal money, how much
Mm.
did it cost you to launch your studio space?
So yeah, so man, I ain't gonna lie to you. I underestimated how much it was really gonna be. So I'm gonna just tell you the whole story. So right, so I got into the program. I told them I needed $50,000.
Hmm.
By the end of the program, they was like, because you're a full-time entrepreneur, we can't verify that you're making money, et cetera, but we can still give you what we can give you. So I actually ended up getting $25,000, and then they gave me a
Hmm.
$5,000 grant for finishing the program. So
Okay.
I started with $30,000 of like money that's like outside. And then
Yeah.
as I started building it, like I said, I thought that was enough. But as you started building, you got rent to pay, overhead, like all these
Yeah.
different things go into it. And then it got to a point where I'm spending like, 20, $50,000 of my own money that I had saved from, being in corporate to kind of keep the studio going, to keep it afloat. So yeah,
Right.
it's expensive, I guess.
But it's very impressive that you did take this money and you were able to launch a brick and mortar. And even if you did underestimate it, I think that just proves, especially because I can say looking across the board, in some way, some form, this is a bunch of minority creatives on here, from whether Black, Latino, or even queer, right? We don't
Yeah.
always get the most funding or support. So I think that that's so important on this call for everybody to take note that you got a certain amount of funding, which could be what you said you underestimated, but you still made it work, right? So my
Mhm.
next question, pivoting into that, is how are you still making it work? You know, I know that you have memberships, but can you break down the business model of your
Yes.
studio?
Yeah, so I'm gonna break it down from the very beginning. So right, so when I first started the space, my space is 4,000 square feet. So I'm assuming that I can fit like 300 people in there minimum. But so what I started to do was when I first got it, I was letting people book my space for a lot of events because the way the space was set up was we had the co-working space, but we had theme
Mm-hmm.
rooms. We had four theme rooms, and then we had an event space that people could book. So people were booking each individual room per hour. And as people were doing that, I started realizing as I started relying on these other platforms like Peerspace or really just my own word of mouth marketing, I'm like, people are coming in so sporadically that I can't even tell how much money I'm going to make this month. Now, in the very
Right.
beginning, I had a lot of good opportunities because people was like, yo, use this space for this, use spaces for this. So it was a lot of like one-off bookings, for like an event that's $700, that's $300 or whatever. But then I got to a point where I'm like, man, like I can't even guarantee how much money I'm going to bring in. And that's like scary as a business owner to have an overhead of $4,000 per month and not know how you're going to bring this money in. So what I started to do was I was like, okay, cool. I know people need these types of spaces, so we launched our membership community that allowed our members to basically use a space like it's theirs, like make it their creative home. And all you have to do is pay like a small monthly fee. And now we're like building community. So then it morphed from, okay, I'm gonna get 1 hour. It's like, okay, boom, we're gonna do this membership community. And that's how everything started. And that's like the first part of Collab Social
Mm,
is realizing that, okay, once I started the membership community, then it morphed into okay, people are coming here for the events I'm hosting because I'm hosting events to get
mm,
traction. But then what happening is people are leaving each event meeting at least three people. So now I'm like, we're really a community. And then as I started to look at that on a deeper scale, it's like, well, I'm always having to bring people to me. But if we're a
hmm.
community, we can bounce around to different spaces and do different things. And yeah, it's like a
I agree.
combination of the building blocks.
And I think the way being a membership only space, I think that what's so important is doing those with community events. So I think that how you're funneling it in is great. And I want to tell people like why it's so valuable to be a member at your community, especially if you're local to Houston. And if not, then you got to pivot and talk to them about Kahlab, your tech
Yeah.
platform that you're launching.
Uh,
But if you're a creator on here and you use studios, I want you to first think how much do you pay per hour to use a studio, whether you have a booking for maybe a photo shoot, maybe you have a client and you are booking a space as part of the package. You might be paying 30 to $100 an hour, depending on the studio space and what it all comes with. Khalil Studio membership starts at 150 bucks a month, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
And when you break it down, because you get 10 credits a month, which is 10 hours a month, you actually realize that you're only paying $15 an hour for his studio. So, and that's also access to a podcast. That's also access to the 2,400 square foot creative studio space, meaning that you could shoot videos, you could shoot photos, you could shoot podcasts. So I think that's very impressive. So let's pivot into the events that you have. What and how did you go about throwing events, and how did you gain traction for those events? Because I think a lot of creators might walk away thinking that maybe they could start having community events to funnel in more
Uh,
clients and stuff. So how did you go about having events?
Man, so when you look at life, right? Life is really just looking backwards and seeing all the things you do, right? So when I was in college, I was president of different organizations. I was in a fraternity, so we're always hosting parties. Um, and doing that, we had to figure out how do we get the campus to come to our parties. So what we
Mm,
started to do was we would reach out to everybody that's on the campus, like, yo, buy tickets for our events, buy tickets for our events. And so when I first started to host events in Houston for the space, I thought if I just put it out there, people were just going to come. And then what I realized was, yeah, that's going to work, but you're not going to get as many people as you really want. So then I was like, man, how can I
mhm,
take it back to what I know best? I was like, well, I'm throwing a party in college. What we're going to do is we're going to put out the flyer, we're going to put our videos, but then we're going to reach out to every single body and their mama. So what I started to do was I would
Mm.
host these events and I would go to other people's studio pages and I would search in their followers, photographers. I would DM all the photographers and I'd go to videographers. I'd DM all the videographers. And so basically I use everybody as my tools to find the people. And then what happened was, 70% of people didn't respond, but then the ones that did respond, it was like, oh, I got this random DM, da da da. And they come and then they meet 3 or 4 people. They're like, man, I'm so glad I came. And that's
Yep.
how I started to build the community. Was like my rule of thumb is if I can get somebody to come to the space and they can meet at least 3 people when they before they leave, then they're gonna want to come back. And then that's how you funnel into the memberships. And it's just like a funnel effect.
Got it. So my notes on this is you're working that's that top of funnel. Then
Yeah,
you're using community to drive in that funnel, and then you could funnel them into becoming members, and
yeah,
go from there. But even if they don't become a member, they're likely to come back, and you kind of end up warming them up more to eventually become a member. I think another thing that's awesome about what you build is you don't happen to be a businessman who started the studio and doesn't do anything in the creative world. You also have your
yeah,
own services and you get
yeah.
pretty good clients, high ticket
Yeah.
ones. Can you tell us a little bit about how you've leveraged your studio space to get high ticket clients, or how you market yourself to get high ticket clients?
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, I started off with the camera, doing photos and videos, and I'm just so blessed. Like, I ain't gonna lie, God bless me. People just kept reaching out to me for doing stuff, and I was like, this is so cool. But I ended up getting one of my good friends, her name is Raven. She worked for this brand called Torjos here in Houston, and she worked for them, and they needed like a behind the scenes video or something. And this is like when I first got the camera. And so I did the behind the scenes video, and then they ended up like, oh, you're dope, whatever. And they used me for a lot of their stuff, but then they took me
Mm-hmm.
on like a tour to like Miami, or not Miami, to New York, Atlanta, New Orleans, LA. Like they took me like around all these places, and I literally did all their photos and videos for this whole like pop-up tour, whatever. And then that was like one of the first things first of like people really like in Houston just like noticing like, oh, who's this dope dude that like is doing all these videos for this brand
Right.
and they're coming out super quick. So like he must be pretty good, you know? And so
Mm-hmm.
that it really just started to be like a word of mouth thing. And, you know, I feel like I don't post my portfolio as much now, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just meeting people, knowing people, a lot of the people I know, for instance, like one of my homies, he's a DJ.
Mm-hmm.
He DJ like the college football national championship when it was like Michigan versus forgot the other team. Whatever the other team was like. So he DJed for them. He was like, hey bro, can you come do a video for me? So it's like the people that I meet and I know, they're like, hey, I know I'm doing this, can you do this? And it's like as you just start meeting dope people, I don't know, dope opportunities just come. Like literally like I met you and then I did the video with Posh. And it's just like
Right. That's
things just
yeah.
happen.
Yep, that is true. Khalil is one of our members on Gem Social, and he was
Yeah.
hired from Posh to do a video service. So I think that's amazing. And that is how we met. So that is also really great. I'm glad that you brought that up. That's awesome. Now let's get into your secret sauce. I feel like everybody has a secret sauce, and then when I saw that topic come across, I was like, that's very interesting because I know what I would consider my secret sauce. But what would you say that is your secret sauce as you continue growing your business? And it doesn't have to be like something anything that you just answered. It can even be down to mentally, like your routine and your
Yeah.
daily routine. It can be how you set yourself up for business, how you
Yeah.
calm yourself down from getting feedback, whatever it may be. But what is exactly your secret sauce that keeps you
Yeah.
growing your business?
Yeah, so I would say my secret sauce is literally being the person that you are is like just being you is your secret sauce. Like for instance, me, when you think about all the things I just named, right? My secret sauce is my brain is super creative,
Mm-hmm.
but it's super like analytical engineering, like reverse engineering things. So when you combine those things with business, engineering, and creativity, you can make a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so like
Yeah.
that's like part of my secret sauce. So when I say like you gotta find your secret sauce, what is it that you do so well that is so natural to you that you can continue to do over and over again? And that's really
Mm-hmm.
your secret sauce. And I connect the dots. So something is over here, something's over here, something up there, and I'm like, oh, they all go together. So everything you see is like it's taking these three different versions of me and combine them to make one, like singularity. So that I would say that's my secret sauce. And that's what I would encourage everybody to think. Like, what is that one thing that you innately have, like that you have inside of you that everybody's like, man, like they're really good at this. And then you realize you're really
Mm.
good at that. And then because of that, now you're like, okay, if I have a competitive edge in this, that's my secret sauce. I just have to figure out how to leverage it myself.
That makes sense. And that pulls me into my next question. I know that people say that the riches are in the niches. Do you have
Yeah.
a specific niche when it does come to your creative services? Not necessarily the studio, because the studio space is for all creatives like
Yeah.
that come in all walks of life. But when it comes to the actual creative services, especially for videography or photography, right? Do you specifically focus on a certain niche, or are you pretty much industry agnostic?
You know, that's something as I started to get deeper into doing like photo and video, it's like something like even myself, like I still be trying to figure out. But now I realize I do a lot more like commercial stuff. A lot of e-commerce brands reach out to me,
Mm-hmm.
or even like things that have products that can be sold and it looks good commercially are some of the things like I focus on. Um, and I've found myself doing a lot of food stuff too. So it's like e-commerce and food probably are the two things when it comes to creative services that people reach out to me the most for. Um, so yeah, I would say that answers that question, but it
I
is what
think
it
that
is.
makes sense though, because you already have the studio. So if I was an e-commerce owner, like I would want to book somebody who also has access to the studio. I know as a client, I hate feeling like I got to book all these different services. So if I could book one service and under that price, it comes with 2 hour studio time and photography and videography and these other deliverables. That makes so much sense. I have that off my back and I can go back to working on what I need to work on. So I think
Yeah,
that's awesome. Can you tell us about some of your member success stories at your
yeah, man.
studio?
Oh, for sure. Like I would say it is crazy like all the things that happen, right? One of our members, Michael Prince, he has a foundation. He's on tour with Russell, T-Pain. He came to one of our events and literally he built his whole nonprofit at the studio by getting somebody else as a member and adding them on the team. And then they were able to fly with him to California to meet LaRussell, fly with him to Colorado, like fly with him all over, being a part of his team. And it's like those are two people that they're both getting impacted in two different ways. He was able to start his nonprofit and find the right people that he needed, and then the other person was able to get like a job opportunity, like a gig opportunity that now they're able to fly all across the country, right? And then you got to think about it. That's just that part. But then people are starting they're getting out the ideas they always wanted to get out. It's like, for instance, one somebody I know named Wendy, she's in tech. She always wanted to do a podcast, always wanted to do a podcast because she has access to the space. She's like 6 episodes in, but it's like it wasn't until she had the space or met the right people to now people that I know I'm like, hey, jump on Wendy's podcast. So it's like all of these trickle down effects that happen. And I think it's really cool, you know. Even like you have your podcast that you film in our space, and so it's really just, I don't know, it's really a blessing though. There's a lot of things that happen.
And I think it's so valuable. Yes, I know about Wendy too, and I love what she's doing. I think what's so valuable is because if I have to go to a podcast studio and pay $50 an hour at this space, and I have to go to a photo shoot studio and pay $100 an hour at that space, and I can just do this all in one space, it makes my mind more clear on let me just get this accomplished in my membership and see how I can max out my ROI. So I'm so grateful for Collab. It is really like a blessing that you have this like one-time fee every single month, and how we utilize it is amazing. And if you guys aren't familiar with Michael Prince, I definitely think you should get familiar with him because he is doing great things and he is another member of Collab. And this is exactly what being creative is all about. For one, if you could save your money and find a space where you could pay a membership fee, and accomplish a lot of things, whether it's photography, videography, bring your clients on for these campaigns and just upcharging, you can quickly make your money back from what you're paying every month. So I think that's awesome. And that leads
And
into my next
or
question about collab.
wait, oh yeah, you know what? You're gonna say that, but then the thing that I said that is probably the most hidden is that literally collaboration is the tool that makes collab social go because
Yep.
all of these people are meeting, they're connecting. It makes it so much easier instead of them being siloed by themselves. They're able to get introduced, collab. "Yeah, I got this idea. I'm trying to do this." And collaboration is like taking everybody along their own path. So
Yes. I have to
collab
agree.
is crazy.
I have to agree. One thing I don't, and you could have said it and maybe I didn't catch it.
Right.
One of the things I like that is that you have a lounge at your studio. Like so when people, when the studio's booked out, when the podcast rooms are booked out and you still just happen to want to be in that area, just networking with others, I find myself in the lounge meeting other people. So you're right. And that is what stands out against other studios. When you book a studio space, you go there, you do your stuff, you go home. But when you're at your space, which is already saving you money over time, you're also in a community, and that's what makes it so worth the while. Even if you just are there connecting with people and finding more referrals and stuff, I can absolutely say that as a past DJ, I got all of my referrals, and a lot like 70% of my income came from word of mouth and people referring me. So I think
Mm.
that you are the fact that you already have that ecosystem going on in collab is why I love it so much. Which brings me to your tech platform. We talked about your studio, and then I'm going to ask a few more questions about your tech platform, and then leave 20 minutes for people to ask questions. But I'd love to know. Can you tell us now what Kahlab is? We know what Kahlab Social is, which is the studio space in
Yeah.
Houston that Houston creatives and other people that are traveling to Houston frequently pay a membership to be a part of. But tell us about Kahlab and why this is going to be super special for even everybody on this call.
Yeah, so Collab is super special because it's really bringing the essence of Collab Social and bringing it into your pocket and like allowing you to take it across, the world. So it's a marketplace that basically connects, users to studio spaces, co-working spaces, and meeting rooms. But instead of us trying to build every single space in the planet, we're connecting you to spaces that already exist, and you can just pay that one membership fee, like with Collab Social. But now you have access to spaces like across your city, and so
Right.
as that grows, you can have, use a space in Houston, Texas, but then if you go to Dallas, the same thing. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
only pay one fee and it makes it a lot more seamless.
I love that. As someone who does have a podcast, and if we have any, not just podcasters, but any creatives on this call that when they're traveling, you want to access other studio spaces instead of paying like that same scenario, $50 an hour, $100 an hour. I think it's awesome, and you guys should tap in with Kahlil because you would only be paying one membership fee, and you're going to access a bunch of spaces rather than just only being locked into one. So I think that's awesome. And if you want Kahlil, feel free to drop the waitlist link in the chat
Mm.
so that way these creatives can sign up and get more information after the call. But yeah, so I think we've covered a good amount. I do want to open the floor for the creatives to ask questions, just because I'm really curious on what people are thinking and what kind of questions they want to ask. Let's see. So I am going to leave the floor open for anyone who has questions first. So we have a few people on the call, so no need to be
Uh,
shy.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Hey,
Awesome.
Brian.
Hey, I think that's such an interesting idea. I don't think I ever would have thought about that had you it makes sense that you went through the Collab Social experience and then came up with the idea for the app for the Collab Social app. What's kind of your vision for that? Like, let's say, I'm assuming like the biggest areas like New York, there's probably like a bunch of spaces
Crazy.
that
Yeah.
this could take off in. Like, what do you envision for Collab app?
Yeah, for sure. So I envision that to, allow users to access spaces literally across the world. So it's like bringing all of these spaces that are typically siloed, bringing them all under one membership, but then also adding a collaboration feature. So now you can communicate and talk with people that are members on the app. So now you can also book the space, but then you can talk with people, and it increases that collaboration because now you can book a space with your team that's on, and then y'all can chat about it. Like, hey, we need to bring this, we need to bring this, and you're furthering, how you're able to utilize the space, how you're able to think about the space, and making it super seamless to where it's literally 4, 5 clicks of a button, and you're booked, you're ready to go, and then you just do it all over again. So that's my vision for that.
No, that's pretty cool. I think that recently I had to find somebody who had a very specific skill set, and I was looking for them in Detroit. It's just for like this random one-off project. I
Hmm.
was just trying to find someone with a specific skill set, and I realized it's pretty tough to find the right places where creatives in the same city like can connect to each other.
Hmm.
And yeah, something like this, like if it wasn't like there needs to be more, I think, more super mainstream places where you can just go and like chat with other creatives basically.
Hmm.
But no, this is good.
Yeah, for sure. And like, as the platform grows, more people on the platform, you'll be able to connect with, people across cities, but it's as we partner with these spaces, we're hosting activations as well. So, like for instance, like me and Bree, we hosted a pop-up co-working day here in Houston, where we we found the spot, and we said, hey, all the creatives come to this spot. We're gonna work together, And so a lot of those things are gonna funnel into like as we launch in these cities. It's like, all right, cool. Let's meet up here. Let's meet up this day at this cool space. It's on the platform, and it just keeps growing and going from there. So it's cool, man.
Do you find there's more people booking more businesses that are booking the space to film their own content, or do you find it's mostly videographers and photographers that are booking the content on behalf of their clients?
Yeah, so you know what? That's a great question. So a lot of times I'll get calls from like the production agency head or something like that, and they're like, "Hey, we need to book this space, right?" So when I look at it, I look at there's different sets of people, right? As a creator, you have your job opportunities, and then you're gonna book the space as needed, or if you're really trying to get that project out that you have. So that's when collab comes super clutch because you're saving money in the long run. You can continually make yourself consistent because you're not spending an arm and a leg, right? But then there's that bucket of like the agency owners or the teams that are 2 to 5 people that they need a space to work, like a meeting room or a co-working space or just do some work, or they need the actual studio to get these productions off. So it's like different levels, but it's a mix. I would say starting off with Collab Social is a lot of entrepreneurs that are literally trying to like grow their business and they're using collab as that tool to like take them to like a higher level.
One last question. I was talking about this recently with somebody about how people who are just getting into the creative space, it's sometimes difficult for them to find more gigs,
Yeah.
and oftentimes I think like the most popular answer for people like that is like, oh, like just do some free work, because then just do some free work, get your portfolio up. And it's
Yeah.
almost every time that I think back to like my experience doing video, most of the big kind of wins in like in this career have been just like randomly like met somebody on a whim, and then it ended
Facts.
up being
Yeah.
like years later that we're like working for a couple of years or something like that, where whatever, it's all basically like very community based. Like you meet someone, they introduce you to someone else, like maybe go to an event with a friend, and then they introduce you to one of their friends. So naturally, if you have a place where you're literally every single day creating a bigger and bigger community, and like most of your day is like spent like speaking and like seeing new people or the same people. I bet, and I'm not sure because I don't have what you have with Collab Social. So like I don't spend that much time around like other people. Oftentimes I just spend it like on my computer or something like that with like video
Mhm.
editing and stuff. But do you find that there's way more opportunities for work in terms of like one-off projects or like fun projects, that just because you're meeting so many people?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like a like Madden effect, right? So the more people around that are having opportunities, the more people around that are really doing something and really serious, it helps because, for instance, like me, I sometimes I can't do every project, but I know that like, okay, cool. I know a photographer that can do
You,
this.
you
I
know
know a
somebody who could,
videographer that can do this. And it's like, even if it's like, yo, look, this is the price they gave, we're gonna double it up. You actually do it, and I'm an editor or whatever. So it's really like the more you bring that community, the more you meet people, the more that like you're able to like get those opportunities. And it's one of those things where if it's not, I always tell people that like if it's not built in your city or if it's not in your environment, you may just have to create it and make it yourself. And it's all about going to networking events and meeting people. But for sure, the more people that you're connected to, the more people you talk to. It's like this little rule or something I read in this book that was like, just in business, the more people you know, the more money you make. Like, so yeah,
Hmm. Sounds like a lot of new creatives should like check out your space, even if they because it's a very accessible amount of money per month for someone to
yeah,
just like get integrated into the creative world, even
yeah,
if they
for
don't have
sure.
like a ton of projects that they need to be using the space for.
Yeah, for sure.
I also think that one thing that we might have missed is that it's such a big thing is that in your membership, you also allow creatives to have events at your space. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I a lot of members use a space to host their events. So some of our people they've hosted, their own networking events. So like it empowers them to like, okay, cool. Maybe, you know, instead of getting 10 hours of studio time, they use their 5 hours to host an event. But for them, that's what they need to meet people, connect people, So it's one of those things where it's not one size fit all with our membership. It's like, you do what you want with your credits and, good luck growing.
That's funny. You do it. Yeah, I feel that. I think it's just interesting because again, where can you find this? Like, where can you find a space that allows you to shoot videos, shoot projects, shoot podcasts, like, and also allow it to be a lead generation tool.
Yeah,
Brian has a video agency out in Canada, and I can imagine like as he goes back and forth to the US, if Brian was like a part of this space, for example, using him as a good example because he's just really good at networking. If he had a membership like this and happen to have a Houston meetup for videographers or a Houston meetup for a specific group of people that he's looking to target into his community because Brian has an amazing community that helps people create content, for example. It would make sense to use his membership to lead more people to his community in Houston and then run that play in different cities. So
yeah,
I love that you allow people to learn how to do that as well, other than just, hey, yeah, I'm gonna bring my client here and shoot their photo here. Like it's bigger than that. You're giving people the blueprint to really scale their business for 150 bucks a month or starting at 150 bucks a month. And then if
yeah,
they want more credit, then they just get on a different tier.
yeah, for sure. And I would say that's like the ultimate thing is like you don't know how many times I've heard like, wow, this is amazing, bro, but I'm in Dallas or this is, far or whatever. So that's one of the main reasons behind even the app, launching Kahlab is to have those like hubs in different cities. And so, like for instance, if there's 20 spaces that we have in like Canada, right? For instance, Brian now can, okay, cool. I'm gonna use my credits to host my activations and connect with these spaces, and he can host his own meetups. He can make his own collab using what we've already made because we are building that network. So that's the whole reason behind the app is to be able to not just be in Houston, but to do the same exact blueprint somewhere else and allow and let everyone else win while it all works together. One big collab, really. No pun intended.
I absolutely love it. Does anybody else have questions? We still have about 15 minutes left, so now is not the time to be shy. Ask any
I
questions that
have a
you have.
question. I know, can y'all hear me?
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Okay, look, I know I came
Hi.
in late, so I was looking at like the link and everything. So for me, I am a cake decorator. And so sometimes I need to have to meet with people for consultations or tastings or like hosting a cake decorating class. Is
Mhm.
would those spaces be beneficial for me?
Yeah, for sure. So, like, for instance, you have those consultations. Now you can use your credits to book a meeting room anywhere that we have spaces, right? So, if your client is on the east side of town, and you're like, okay, cool. I'm gonna just use my credits to book a space on the east side of town. I can meet my client there. You can always have a professional space to meet your clients. Now, on the flip end, if you're, needing to get content for your stuff, there's going to be spaces on there that are perfect to make your content. We may have some spaces that have like a mock-up kitchen or something like that. So it's like you can use it to really get all of your business all together, and like different fields. And as you use your credits. Let's say you book a space and like, hey, I'm gonna do a meeting here. It's maybe 7 people, and you're just really giving a cake demo. These are the things that you would use your credits for. It's like you have to you're using it to maximize and grow your business, and you're making it seamless instead of you having to purchase a lease of a building and always have this dedicated office. Now it allows you to pick and choose when you want to utilize your credits and pick something that's perfect for your business that helps you keep that professionalism and helps you grow.
Thank you.
Oh, for sure, most definitely.
I'll go as well. So more than just, moving on from simply like one-off gigs and projects like that, do you have any
Yeah.
advice or any strategies for converting clients that you already have into retainers, or into finding, people that are looking, find the value in,
Okay.
working with a videographer on a, monthly basis or something like that?
Yeah, so what I would say is you got to switch your thinking into like you're not in the video business anymore. You're in the problem solving business. So you have to use your videos to solve someone's problems in a way of like, okay, I know that this business, they're lacking visibility or they need more people. All right, I'm going to sell them on like, hey, I know that you are, trying to grow your social media presence, da da da. Hey, I have these video packages that everything is designed to helping your business get to the next level. So it's like you got to take off the videographer mindset and get into that like, all right, I'm like a business strategist and I'm gonna come in and give them a full marketing plan and a full play of how these videos are going to be useful. I don't even have to be the one to do the videos. I just know these are the videos that are going to help you get to the next level. Then you say, okay, cool. If you do, these 10 videos per month and we do these videos this type of way, it's going to take you to the next level and it's going to be $1,500. And then it's say, now let's try it out for a 3 month period because I want to make sure that we get the most value. Then after that 3 month period, if you do good, and they like, oh, this really helped my business. Then you say, okay, cool, let's move it to 6 months or 12 months. So it's like you're more so becoming a doctor to a business, and then you pitch your services that way if you're looking to do more retainer clients. And then the way you find the retainer clients is one or two things: either meeting people that have that, like you got to meet people when they have their guard down. They're always think you're trying to sell them. So it's like you meet people at like networking events that are business owners, entrepreneurs. You just start talking to them, like becoming a doctor, and be like, oh man, like if you need help with that, like, I can help with that. And then like, hey, let's schedule a call. And then when they get on the call with you, already have the full plan. Like actually, I was up all night thinking about your business, and I prepared this, da da da. And they're like, oh wow. And it's like, yeah, does this fit in your budget? You know what I'm saying? And that's how like I've kind of gone about it is once I meet people, it's like I become doctor. Like I talk about what I do and say like my value, but I'm more so asking everybody else the questions. And they're literally telling me was that what they want. So then I can come to them and say, hey, look, this is what you need to do to go to the next level. And they're like, oh man, it's like you're in my head. I'm like, bro, you told me the answer already. Hold on 1 second. Let me charge
Appreciate that.
my laptop up and down. But I am still here.
And Daniel, with the services that you do, I think you're right. You're right there. I think you're right there because you already do great commercial style videos.
Thank you. I guess my thing is like, I have to learn how to replicate it. I've been blessed, and God's brought me a lot of cool opportunities and
Mhm.
clients and work. But I want to have a little bit more of a hand in that myself. I want to have a little bit more of an idea of what my funnel looks like, what clients,
Mm.
having clients in the pipeline
Yeah.
consistently. I'd rather, instead of being at a point where when business is slow and there's no client coming in, I'm like using off savings or something. There's always like
Yeah.
clients coming in on some. But yeah.
Yeah. And so with that, I would say I remember I was down bad, man. Like I needed some money really, 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 really bad. And so what I did was I put together like a dream 100 that turned into like a dream 500 list of clients in a specific niche that I knew that I could solve their problem so well that if I tell them what I can do, that it's going to be beneficial. And then it's crazy to say, but you got to do things that don't scale sometimes. So like, you got to call businesses, call people, but it's all about creating that like target list of this is what I want to go after. This is what my price is going to be. This is how many clients I can handle. And then once you know that, everything else becomes super clear. And it's like, okay, I know that after I reached out to 10 people or 15 people, every time I reach out to 15 people, one person says yes. So now it's like you're really just playing math. You're not really even, it's not even a guessing game. It's more so like, cool, if I reach out to 20 people, then one person is going to actually take, five people may get on a call with me. Two people are going to be interested, and that one person is going to say yes. So I know that every time I get in front of talk to 20 people, I'm gonna make $1,500 per month. And then you just start stacking that. You know what I'm saying? Um, that would be my approach to that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think I definitely just got to get into the habit of starting to get out more and talk with more, because most of the people I talk to are word of mouth or referrals. So I never really have a sales problem. I can close down the conversation.
Word.
It's the lead problem. It's talking to people and I've been able to get better at kind of, like you said, being a doctor, diagnosing what the issue is, figuring out what their pain points are so that I could come in and, fill in those gaps, bridge those gaps with the value they're looking for. I guess, and just in my experience, a lot of those times they're not looking for, or at least they don't know they're looking for something consistently. They'll hire me for a project or for one thing. It may last a month, 2 months, but it's not something that I've gotten to be able to sell as a package to consistently, and then be able to replicate as well, because I have a wedding business I just started as that I kind of separated from my main brand, and I'd like to be able to build some sort of formula. I know it's a different demographic, different industry, but to be able to do the same thing where I'm, reaching out to brides or finding a way to have brides reach out to me through social media, whether that be through ads or organic posting or whatnot. But yeah, I appreciate that.
No, for sure. I would say just hearing you talk is like you already have a niche, you already have the direction you want to go. Now it's just like what they say there's only a few different ways you can get clients, either by people that you already know and reaching out to them, by posting on social media, that's free. So if you're not telling people and advertising, book me, book me, book me, then it's like that's one thing. Two or three, there's hosting your own meetups, your own events, bringing people to you, or what is it, paid ads. Like it's only a few, like four or five different ways you can actually go about getting clients. Besides, there's word of mouth, random cold calling people, reaching out to people. What's the next one? Yeah, like doing something like a lead magnet or doing an ad. Other than that, it's it's just like doing the volume, like numbers game.
And I think considering Daniel's in one of the hottest cities for weddings, Miami being that,
Crazy.
Daniel, you might even want to connect with some those what are they called? Wedding planners. Like you might want to cold call a lot of wedding planners too, and make sure that you offer your services as part of their package. And even if it might be a slight discount, it's already a large service as far as like the payments. That was something I did on my DJ side, and I personally can say I used to go to I would see the same photographers and videographers over and over again because I was going with the same photographers and videographers to these weddings, like particular weddings. So I covered Sunrise, but there was other photographers and videographers that covered Orlando or the Keys or etc. So I would say package your service with another person, and that's where partnerships and sales comes in because these people can actually already are getting the weddings. You know what I'm saying? So you're already alleviating that. And at that point, all you gotta do is show up.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you.
No problem. So we have about 5 minutes left. So that should leave at least room for two more questions. I know that Brian has asked a question, Daniel asked a question, Shaisha asked a question. But I know we have a few people on here. So does anybody else have a question that Kahlil could
I don't think
Oh,
help
I
you out
have
with?
one more question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Craig.
Totally, go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
Is there a way to look at the spaces that are there, like before you commit to like a membership? Like to see what your options, like what you have to choose from, basically.
Yeah, yeah. So if you go to the website, there's spaces on the website, so you can kind of see what spaces we already have. You can scroll through them there, and if you want to more in depth, you just reach out to me, and I can for sure send you more stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know Bree put it in the chat as well, so and more spaces are being added.
Yeah, collab hasn't fully gone live yet, but I know that it's fairly new. So from what Kahlil had told me on the side, like spaces are signing up every day. So I'm excited to see how this grows well, and honestly. So I'm excited for it. Craig, what was your question?
Well, now I have two things now that we've just done that. So, Khalil, you need to give me more info or whatever, and we need to chat because I'm going to need spaces because I have a 2-year-old
Oh,
I have to get out of the house for some meetings and all that kind of stuff too, and to be able to work and everything. So I'm up here in near Cleveland, Sandusky area. So maybe we can get something up here. I would love that.
oh yeah,
Um,
that'd be perfect for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. And then I just had an idea, Daniel. I think something that'd be really cool for helping you build your business too. I don't know if you do any events or whatever. Like I was building my network a lot back home on events and stuff. I know you're hungry, baby. Hold on. Um, I know that's how Khalil's saying he built his business and everything as well. But blending in with what Bree had said, get together with like some DJs and stuff and make events for these event planners. So invite them to these different events. That way you're meeting them in person, you're seeing them in person, because I think we're turning into that kind of world to people like that relationship. People like to go ahead, get your, Instagram or LinkedIn handle and move from there. And then they already know you. So that might be something cool to do, honestly, instead of just cold calling, because I know cold calling isn't always fun.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you, Craig. Yeah, I got that written down now. That's a great idea.
Awesome. We have room for one more question. So if anybody hasn't asked a question that has questions, even from, I know there's some people on here on more of the business side and less maybe creative side. I see some familiar names, but even if you have a question as a business person who might need access to these studios for shooting content for your business, feel free to ask. I know we have some local Houston folks, and I know we have most of the people that are outside of Houston, but considering that Kahlil is taking what he did here in Houston with his studio and making this a full-fledged platform, this is going to be accessible for everybody on this call. So if you have any questions, now is the time before we get off.
I'm kind of curious. I'm curious about how how have you noticed what's the capacity of memberships that can exist for one kind of like normal sized place? Because for example, in Canada, in Ottawa, there's a handful of spaces that people use, and these spaces often get used for like movies and like there's like the old Shopify building here in Ottawa where like they were headquartered. There's
Hmm.
I see movie stuff happen all the time there. Like they'll you just use like a random spot and they'll close off the whole section. And it like happens quite often, but nobody else has access to those spaces, I guess, because like it's not like that Shopify building is like offering it up, even though I know they'd be open to it because I know the owner and like he wants to rent out that event space. How do you how soon do you think someone could onboard their space and enlist their space with Collab app? And at what point is too many memberships like too much for like, you know what I mean? What's like kind of like because I'm sure not everyone uses like every single one of their credits like every
Yeah.
month or so.
Yeah, I would say how quickly can someone onboard? Someone on board right now. I'm onboarding spaces right now.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Um,
cool.
but as far as how many memberships can be on the platform, I mean it's really not like a limit. It's really just signing people up because you gotta think about it. It's not just that one space. They have access to multiple spaces. So it's really just connecting with someone that already has a space and being like, hey, look, we have all these members, and be like, hey, look, we want to bring these members that we have to you. And so for them, for us, is really more so the more spaces that we can have in one specific area, the more that the members can get benefit from it. So, like for instance, if you know a few spaces in your area, that'd be perfect because then I can reach out to them like, hey, I want to add you to this platform, I want to add you to this network. And then as that grows, it's more beneficial and useful for you because it's like a benefit. So there's not really like a limit of that because as long as there's spaces, there's room for people. And then if
Interesting.
it
Okay.
ever gets to a point where there is a limit, then that's like a great problem to have, and that means you need to add more spaces.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
This was awesome.
This
Let's
is
see.
dope. I love it.
And me, I just got your message. Yes. Let me see. Let me send you my email. I'm excited. But this was amazing. Kahlil, thank you for joining our office hours. This was really excited. I'm excited to bring you back too, as well, because we will definitely have Kahlil back. Obviously, he's launching Kahlab, and I can imagine that it's going to grow extremely fast. So as it's growing, we can definitely bring him back if people have questions, because I can totally see Gem Socials community benefiting from being a member on Kahlab. So we could definitely stay connected on that. He is launching it soon. He does have special pricing for those who first sign up. So I am going to just drop the link again because I know that people that just joined or joined within the last like 15 minutes might have not seen it, but it is collab.app. So I just put that there. And let's see, I'm trying to see if there's any other questions coming from my side. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone who came on for our very first virtual office hours. This was so exciting from my end, and I'm really excited to continue repeating this. Eventually, this office hours will only be for members. So I definitely recommend that while our memberships are only $9.99 a month, to be sure to be on here. You get a lot more benefits than just this, but this is something that's going to be very valuable that we're going to continue to grow. And we're excited to continue having mentors coming on board. Brian is actually our chief marketing officer, and he's made some tremendous, tremendous what's the word? He's done a tremendous job with his video agency. So we're definitely going to have him next on how he's scaled his business and how he's landed businesses that have paid him $10,000 a month, as far as video services. So he's going to be the next person on our office hours. So we'll solidify that date and we'll be posting it soon. It'll probably be in the next few weeks. But I'm really excited to be starting this, and we'll keep these going. We'll try to do it every 2 weeks or once a month. That will vary, but other than that, look out for our emails, look out for our push notifications, and make sure that you're following us on socials, Gem Social app. And I will get you guys at the next one. And if you're local to Miami, New York, Houston, LA, we are going to continue having community events. I'm only one person, so I can only get to so many spaces, but we're going to continue doing that. And that's why Kahlab is such a powerful partnership, because we're going to utilize a membership on Kahlab to have events at these spaces too. So stay tuned for that. But wish everybody a good night. I know people are getting off work and ready to be with their families and cook dinner and stuff. So I'll let y'all go. Until next
All
time.
right. All right. Thank you so much. It
Thanks,
was
Kahlil.
dope. Yep. Add me on socials. Bye.
Bye bye.